Hey everyone, this is Steven from Campus Ink Printing and Printavo, here to give you a overview of how a workflow actually works in a real shop. I own a screen printing company in Central Illinois called Campus Ink Printing. We have been using Printavo now for 4 years, and we have completely automated our shop, our workflow, our customer management, invoicing, and pretty much how we do everything in our business by using Printavo. Now, I'm going to go really deep today and talk a little bit about your workflow. Now, your business is a machine. It's an input and an output machine. And we're going to think of your business as a machine today in order to create a workflow from scratch, and then we're going to model it using Printavo. So my business is different from your business, and one thing you should realize is every business is going to have a slightly different workflow based on the individuals in your business, the talent, the skill set, the level of knowledge that maybe you have versus your production team versus your artists. Every business is going to be slightly different, and so it's very important that you create a workflow that's special for your business. And so in order to do that, we're going to start from scratch today using a tool called draw.io. Now, draw.io is for free, and it's really great because you can exactly visualize how your business operates, and kind of gives you an overview of that machine. And then we're going to put it into Printavo and get Printavo to model it as closely as we can. And so to start out with our input-output machine, we have to think about the first, I guess you would say, domino that triggers your workflow. And that is the customer. The initial customer interaction has to be part of your system because they have to understand your workflow so that they can get you great orders, and so you can give them a great customer experience. And so we're going to start with the customer, and more importantly, we're going to start with order intake. I'm going to build it for you guys so you can see it exactly from scratch. So customer comes in the door. They're either going to call, they're going to email, you're going to go call on them, but no matter what happens, you are going to have an initial customer interaction. This might be for a customer that you've never worked with before. This might be for a repeat customer. This is for just about anyone. It always starts with an interaction. And so y'all might have a script that you go through every time you work with a customer. I know we have a script that's typed out, but you're going to ask your general questions that you might be interested in order to close that deal. So when the customer walks in the door, they are instantly filtered into two different bins. They are either a shopper or they are a buyer. And what I mean by that is if a customer walks in the door and they know they're working with you, they're going to be giving you a lot more relevant information for the order, and the order is generally going to be processed a little bit quicker than the customer that is a shopper. The customer that's a shopper might have a lot more questions. They might be asking for quotes. They might want different styles, and they might not be sold on using you yet. And so it's very important that your workflow can accommodate these two things. And so let's first start talking about the customer that is shopping. The customer that's shopping is going to need a quote when they leave your building. And so it's very important that you have something set up for that. So we're going to just set up a little workflow right here, and we're going to make it from the initial customer interaction to sending them a quote. And this might be, like I said, the generic quote that has sizes, breakdowns, some basic pricing, but nothing is in stone yet, right? And so you send that out to the customer, and the customer can do a couple of things. They can go ahead and approve the order, right? Or they can do the opposite and not approve the order, right? And if they don't approve the order, that just means that you might have to go back to square one and interact with that customer again. Oops. So you could have a customer that's approved, or you could have a customer that doesn't approve. And we can just set that right there. or we can set, like I said, non-approval. Now, if they don't approve it, it could be because they have questions. It could be because there's something they don't like. There's a lot of reasons why they might not approve it. But regardless, what's going to happen is you're going to have to go back and interact with the customer. And so this loop might happen a few times until you get a customer approval. But say you have a customer that is a buyer and they know exactly what they want. They're going to come in and they're ready to place their order with their sizes, their pricing. You're going to have to go ahead and you're going to have to send them something so that they can approve it. Now, some people might argue, well, why do I need to send something out to a customer that's already, they know exactly what they want? Well, it's really, really good to send something out to your customer that just double checks that everything is correct. And it could sound something like this. Here you go. Here are the sizes you talked to us over the phone. We're just double checking with you, and we'd ask that you go ahead and please click approve. Regardless, what should happen is the customer should go ahead and say, I approve the prices we discussed. Let's go ahead and process the order. Or the customer might say, you know what? We don't approve it because there's something we don't like, or we'd like something to get changed, and that's where we go back to the initial customer interaction. So this first order intake right here is very important, that you create a loop that fulfills both approvals, non-approvals, and it also fulfills quotes as well as customers that are ready to buy. So once you've created this loop, and I've made these green right here because we are going to use them in just a little bit on Printavo, we're ready to go to our, really there's two bins that we're going to go to. So one bin that we go to is actually purchasing. And purchasing is where you are going to go ahead and you are going to buy the materials ready to produce your job. Now, you might have some feedback here that when the customer goes ahead and approves it, you might require a payment. So let's go ahead and let's put a little bubble right here that's just going to say payment required. So we'll put something here that says payment request. And it might be a deposit. It might be, it could be a deposit for the full price. It could be, just 25%. It might just be a payment request that you require. And we're going to make that green as well. And the reason I'm making that green is because later when we go into Printavo, we are actually going to automate those completely. But let's assume that the customer, has paid for it. They are ready to go, and you are ready to process the order. So really, the next part of the order is in purchasing. And in purchasing, that is where you are going to order the goods, bring them in, count them, and get them ready for printing. Now, at the same exact time, it's also important that you start the artwork process, because you don't want to wait for one or the other. You want them to run simultaneously. And so we're going to create another bin in our machine called Art Department. Because really what you want to happen is the goods and the artwork to meet each other at the exact same time so that the job can be done quickly, effortlessly, and efficiently. So once the customer goes ahead and approves, we said that one part of the workflow will go to purchasing, while the other will go into the art department. So we're going to create a workflow down into our art department. And in our art department, we are going to create a notification right here that lets our artists know that we need to start on artwork. All right, so we need to start on artwork. Okay, so the artist has been notified and we're ready to work on artwork. Now, there's a couple different things that could happen in the art department. The artist might have print-ready mock-ups. They might be creating customer goods. They might be creating artwork from scratch. But regardless, the artist is going to be creating mock-ups. And they're going to do their best to create mock-ups based on the specs put in by the order taker. And so we're going to say the artist is going to create print ready mockups with accurate ink colors. It's also very important, right? And once the artist does that, the artist is going to, similarly to the order intake department, they're going to send that out for approval. So they're going to upload it and they're going to send it out for approval. I'm making that green again there because I want you to see how we're going to automate this in just a minute. Now, similar to the artist working on art, there are a couple different things that can happen. The customer can go ahead and they can approve that artwork. Or the customer could not approve that artwork and there might be changes, which goes back to that loop that we just created. So we're going to create some arrows there that kind of have two options. And obviously in the best case scenario, we're going to hope that the customer goes ahead and approves it. But if it's not approved by the customer, we have to create something here that tells the artist it's time to go back to the drawing boards and start over again. Right? And you know, while our artist is working on that, maybe our artist is having issues along the way, right? Maybe our artist is, you know, took in that order, but really he's missing fonts, he doesn't have accurate ink colors, and maybe that artist is confused. So we're actually going to build something into our workflow because we're going to provide feedback in our workflow that says art issue. And if the artist has an issue, while they might be able to reach directly out to the customer, in the best case scenario, maybe they need to let the order taker know that there's an issue and that there needs to be, they're going to have to go back to that initial customer interaction like we talked about. And it sounds silly, but it goes back to the drawing boards so that it can come back into the order the correct way. So once our customer has approved the artwork, it's important that it gets ready for, like we said, burning, separating, and your production team. And maybe that's your artist, maybe that's pre-press, but for a second, we're going to assume that your artist is the one that is printing out your transparencies, your film, getting it ready for your production team. And once that customer goes ahead and approves, there's no reason why they shouldn't be able to print, separate artwork. So we're going to create that right there as a task that they're going to do, right? And in just a matter of a couple seconds, we've created the same feedback that we did in our order intake, and we've done it in our art department. So if we go in to our purchasing should be pretty simple here, but we're just going to create a couple blocks. One block we're going to make is to notify our production manager to order goods. Okay, and we're going to say that's one status, that goods are ready to be ordered. Okay, and from there, they're going to go ahead and they're going to order the goods, order goods. They're going to go ahead and they're going to count in the goods when they arrive, count in the goods and stack for pre-press. And more or less, the goods are hopefully going to be ordered. Now, there always might be issues. There's a size that's out of stock. There's a color that's out of stock. Something's happened along the way where there is an ordering issue. And so we're going to create that right there. And the same exact way that we discussed that earlier, we're going to create some feedback that's going to go back to the customer to interact with them. And so you'll see, in a perfect world, everything should go correctly, but how often does that happen? And what we want to be prepared for, is what happens when things don't go perfectly, and how does your business react along the way? And that's really where, your workflow is tested, and how strong your workflow is, when things aren't handled properly. And you could create a lot of different situations. I'm just creating a couple of them in our business that we go through on a daily basis. But these are kind of the statuses that we might go through in purchasing, right? And so when your production manager and your art department meet, they should be able to get the screens ready and go ahead and go to press. All right, so now that we've created our workflow, you can start to get the hang of what it means to really diagram your shop and the way things work. As you decide to go through your production, what you'll find is that if you do all the early steps correctly, production should go very smoothly, like we discussed. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to build these statuses into Printavo, and I'm going to automate Printavo so that it can work for you and your workflow. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to go into Printavo, and you'll see this is just a demo account. I'm starting it from scratch, so if you're just playing along with us, you can actually set this up. So I'm going to go into my account, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to click on Custom Invoice Statuses. And invoice statuses are exactly what they sound like. It's a stage of a job. And so there's a couple custom statuses already set for you. I am going to create my own from scratch, and then we're going to start to associate different status change notifications and different actions associated with them. So we said early on that the first part was the customer interaction, and after that customer interaction, there's really the first thing you want to do is send the customer a proposal. So we're going to take that first step where we said a quote or an order, and we're going to turn it into a proposal. And we're going to say proposal out for approval, and we can give it a lighter shade of green just to show that we're still in that proposal stage. And we're going to call that the first stage. And if we're fancy, we can actually say proposal out for approval, and we can create a text message if we'd like. So another status that I'm going to make is text. And texting is a great tool. You'll find that customers will respond really well. They'll approve things. They'll interact with you a lot faster. So first two statuses we're making are for your proposals. Okay? And we'll give that kind of the same color. The next status we're going to give is proposal not approved, and we'll turn that to red, because red means that we got to do something, right? And that same right there is not approved. And then we'll make another status called proposal approved by customer, and we'll make that one, I don't know, we'll pick orange. Okay, so right there we have our first kind of loop for our different proposals. Okay, and so what I'm going to do right there is I'm going to save, and I'm going to go into my account, and I'm going to go into status change notifications. Status change notifications are going to trigger either an email or a text message that's going to be sent to the customer when that color changes. So we're going to say for proposal out for approval, we want to send the customer an email. And we could craft a message that says a bunch of different things, but we want to keep it pretty generic. And, I've got something that's written out that says, hello, below you will find a link to your order where you'll see our proposal put together. You can go ahead and click approve if you'd like, and you can go ahead and approve your proposal. And so I crafted that message. It puts our standard turnarounds and just some basics about the job. This is an email that's going to be sent out, and you can do the same exact thing with proposal out for approval via text message. And maybe you're just going to condense that and say, Your proposal is ready. Click on the link to view it. Okay. And if a proposal is not approved, maybe we want to send the invoice creator an email. The invoice creator is your customer sales rep or whoever was logged into Printavo to create that quote. And you could say, customer did not approve, please contact customer. And this obviously means you need to get in touch with the customer. Or you could have proposal approved by the customer, and you could send either the invoice creator an email, or you could send maybe the next person in line that's supposed to work on the job. Maybe it's your production manager. You can send them an email and say, the customer has approved this order. Finalize it and get in touch with them to proceed. And these are just some basic messages that will go out every single time these statuses change. Now the question holds as to when they get in a proposal, how do they go about approving that proposal? And so what we're going to do is we're going to click on My Account. We're going to go into Approvals, and we're going to create an approval, and there's one already made right here, and we're going to call it proposal or quote or whatever you guys call it in your shop. Okay, and so now we've created an approval, and what we want to do is we want to automate that approval to be sent out with that status. So we're going to click on Automation, and we're going to say when let's see, when proposal out for approval is set, create a proposal request. And we're going to click on for that that trigger right there. And you have two different types of automation here for creating those approvals. We're going to make one later for artwork, but we're just going to start with the proposal approval. Okay. And so if I go back to here, I can also say that if proposal is approved, change the status to proposal approved by the customer. And right there, I've created some triggers that are going to do this for you. Okay, so we said when a proposal, when an invoice changes to this status, create the approval, and when the approval is approved, change the status to approved by customer. And we can add one that says if proposal is approved, request a payment of 25%. And that could be a payment request so that they could put a down payment, or you could say 100% there if you'd like. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to our calendar. We're going to create a new invoice, or we can start it as a quote. And we can just pick John Doe right there. And we can just say sample order. We can do t-shirts. We can pick whatever shirt we want. And we can say they've requested 4 smalls, 4 mediums, 4 larges. The shirts are $12 a piece. We haven't really done any artwork yet, but we can add print locations and know they want a 1-color front. They want a 1-color back. And this proposal is pretty much ready to go. We can put our customer due date there, when we believe we're gonna produce that job, and just some basic information. And here's where the magic happens. So we can go ahead and click proposal out for approval via email. And then we can also click proposal out for approval via text. And what it'll do is it'll send them both an email and a text message. Now, if we want to click on and see what the customer is seeing, we can click on public invoice. And what has happened right there is this blue box called proposal approval is there. And what will happen is the customer is going to have the ability to click approve the proposal. They're going to be able to put their name there. And right away, you're going to see a history of when they approved that proposal. Now, if I go back to my calendar and I refresh my page, I'll see that this turned to orange and say proposal was approved by the customer. What I'm also going to see if I go back to the invoice is that a payment request, and I don't think I have payments set up yet. This is a demo account. But what will happen is the customer will have the ability to go ahead and pay for that right on the spot there in a payment portal. And I can show you guys what that looks like over on my Printavo. But a payment request is going to look something like this. Let's go and find one that still needs to be paid for. And if we go over to our public invoice, they can go ahead and click pay amount, and they can put their information in there right there. And when that's paid, you'll see that paid stamp going on there. And that's how I do it with my business. But like I said, payments aren't set up in my demo account right here yet because we're not really using this account yet, just using it for demonstration purposes. All right, so if we go back to our workflow, we can see that we've created that first loop. We're sending either the quote or the order out for approval. We're going ahead and we're going to create a status if it's not approved. And if it's not approved, you could turn it to red. And maybe your customer messages you back using the message portal. And that's where you need to go back and talk to the customer. Or that's going to turn orange with the proposal approved. And in our workflow, we've made it through the first step. We've even requested a payment there. So from that, we're going to have to build two more workflows. One workflow is going to be for purchasing. One is going to be for our art department. So it's really important that you get the products in and you order them right away. Now, say that the customer in their first thing, maybe they wanted to tweak their sizes, or maybe the first proposal was just for a quantity. But what you can always do is you can change the sizes, and you can go into your messages here. You can attach an approval for maybe that same thing. If you need to go back and forth with them, you can go into the messages, you can attach an approval, and you can say, please approve your newest sizes. Here is your proposal. And what that will do is it'll create that same proposal all over again, and it'll start that loop over again until you're finally ready to go. Right? And so that loop can go in circles until you're ready. But like I said, once that approval is approved, that proposal is approved, you want to get into purchasing the products quickly and then move over to the art department. So I'm going to create a couple more statuses here. I'm going to go back into my account, and I'm going to create a status for purchasing. And so I'm going to say order approved, or sizes approved, order goods. And I'm going to give that a blue color there. And I'm going to create another status that says products ordered, proceed to art. Right? And you should really be ordering the goods, right away. And so that process should happen almost instantly. Okay? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into my account. I'm going to go into custom invoice statuses so we can see those there. But I'm going to go into status change notifications. And this time, when the sizes are approved and we're ready to order the goods, I'm going to send the person that orders the goods, we'll just call them the purchasing department, and it'll say, please order the goods for this invoice and move the status to the next stage. And every time this happens, right, the person that's purchasing the goods is going to get that message, and they're going to get notified that anything that's light blue, they need to go ahead and take. And then what we're going to do is once the products are ordered, we're going to send the art department a message that says, start working on artwork. And we could send this as a text message. You could send it any way, shape, or form. right? And so when we go into that same order right there, right, and your order taker has approved the sizes, they're ready to go, the job has good specs, maybe they've attached some artwork, and you can go ahead and attach your files right in the order. We'll go back to the order that we were working on. So if I go into my monthly view, I can see that order right there. But more importantly, I can attach artwork, and maybe they've got some bad artwork that someone's going to have to redraw. And so you can take that logo, right, and you can attach it in there, and maybe they have to redraw that or something like that. Maybe we have to say redraw the image and apply it to the shirt, full front, 10 inches wide, and maybe on these shirts they want to do a one color front and they want black ink, right? And so now we have some information. The job is ready to get ordered. So we're going to move it over to sizes approved, order the goods. And this is where your purchasing department can go ahead and create a purchase order by clicking on more actions, mark line items as need to order. They can go over to their purchase order department or their tab. They can create that purchase order. They can say, all right, these are the shirts I'm ordering today. And when they go back to that purchase order, they can go ahead and they can add a tracking number to it. They can print it out. They can even send it to the vendor. But once they order the goods, they can click on Mark Goods as Ordered. So now we know that purchase order 1 is associated to invoice number 3, and you can gang together several different invoices in one purchase order, so when your products come the next day, you can check them in. But if they go over to that invoice, that person can say, okay, we're moving to the next step. Let's go ahead and work on the artwork, right? And so if we go back into my account, we're going to create a workflow for your art department. So the artist has received a notification. Their task at hand is to create print-ready mockups, and the goal is that they can upload it and send it back out to the customer. So we're going to go back and we're going to build this out right here. And there was one piece of feedback, and I'll go through that in a second. But we're going to go back into my account. We're going to go into custom invoice statuses, and we're going to create some different statuses. One status we're going to create is artwork out for approval, and we can make that light blue, and we can make that an email if we want. We can also make that a text message. And maybe we're going to make another email for your artist to say artwork reminder email. And we could put order on hold, because really if the customer doesn't approve the artwork, the order is on hold. So we're going to go back into my account. We're going to click on status change notifications, and we're going to associate different actions with them. So send the customer an email saying, here is your proof. Please click on the link to view it. When you approve it, please check over print locations, ink colors, and any other specs on the job. Once you approve your order, it will begin processing. Any delay in your approval may slow down production. And you could put questions, call or email us, right? And you could put the same thing for a text message. Send the customer a text message. And we could save that, go into my account, and you'll see I need to label that as text. And we can go back to my account. We can even create another status change notification for that reminder. Send the customer an email saying, We have sent you a proof that has still not been approved. Your order is on hold until you approve it. Please get in contact with us immediately. Okay. Now your artist has something to work with. They can send out an approval and they can send out an artwork reminder. And what we're going to do is we're going to go back into automation and we're going to create a special approval just for artwork. So when artwork out for approval email is triggered, create the artwork approval request. And so this is the second approval that's going to go out, and it's different from the first approval. The first approval was for approving the sizes and the general order. The second approval is specifically for artwork, and this new feature makes it super simple to keep those two things completely separate, right? And we can also say if the artwork approval is approved, pick a status. Well, we haven't created a status for artwork approved yet, so we're going to go back into my account. We're going to create a custom invoice status that says artwork approved, separate and print art, or burn screens, or whatever that is in your workflow. And we can give that another color. Maybe we'll give that a yellow, something like that. Okay. And so now, if we go back into my account and we click on automation, we're going to say if artwork approval is approved, change the status to artwork approved. We're going to turn that on. So now when we go back to that order, in that workflow, we've ordered the products. The artist has created that artwork. They can store their files there that are only facing them, so they can store, their AI files or Corel files or whatever their artwork is. They can also upload a JPEG or a proof. So you can store all your files on here, so it's going to travel with the job, so don't be afraid of uploading a PDF to the production files. And then they can go ahead and they can attach a mockup, right? And a mockup is obviously uneditable, and everyone might have some different mockups that they use or some different templates. I'm just going to use an image of a shirt right here as an arbitrary sample. So once they've uploaded all that information, they can go ahead and say artwork out for approval email. If they want to send that text, they can say artwork out for approval via text. What's going to happen here is when they go ahead and they view that invoice, they're going to see an artwork approval, right? And the customer is going to receive that message that says you need to go ahead and approve that artwork. They can go ahead and approve that artwork by signing their names. And you can see the artwork is approved on that day. When I go back to that invoice, I refresh my page, it's going to change to that yellow, and that's, sorry, a terrible yellow that I just picked, but just trying to show you here that that it will change colors for you there, right? And we can go ahead and we can pick all the colors of the rainbow that we want. I will pick something that's a little more visible, like this muddy brown. So now your artist knows that they are ready to separate and print that artwork, and maybe that's another employee in the shop, or maybe that's your production manager. You can automate that so they can get a different message when that happens. Now we have created a customer approval, a notification to print and separate the artwork, or we can create a status for non-approval. So usually when a customer doesn't approve, they email, call you back, tell you, hey, it's not right. We need that blue to be royal blue instead of super bright blue. And so you can go ahead and you can create a status for that. And so you could say artwork not approved, please revise and resend. Maybe we'll make that one bright red. Anytime there's something that's pretty relevant or important, I always make them red in my shop. And there you can create a trigger. Maybe you want to make that a text message, or maybe you want to make that a specific email. You can create a status change notification that is going to send that message straight to the artist and say, hey, art guy, you need to change artwork ASAP. Maybe they'll get annoyed from a text message. Texting is really good with the customers. I don't know if your staff's going to like that as much. But say the customer didn't approve it, you could change that status. But say it was approved and it was ready to go, you could move it to the next status. So let's talk a little bit about feedback. Now, everything should go to plan until you get bad artwork, or you get fonts that are not correct, or your customer service rep decided to take an order that there's no way you're going to be able to redraw that, or there's some kind of issue. So we're going to create a status for artwork issues, and we can create two statuses. We can say art issue CSR, your customer service rep, office. Maybe this is to get to let the office know, customer, right? And so we can create, maybe we'll give that purple. And this is really my favorite part, because you will you will spend so much time trying to contact customers, call, email them when there's an issue, when really you should tag it, create a status for it, send the customer a message, and move on to the next thing you're working on. So we're going to go right back into status change notification. We're going to go into art issue, and we're going to say, what's the message that's going to the customer service rep? We'll say, there's a problem with your customer's artwork, or you did not enter in ink colors. Please edit the invoice and change the status, or contact the customer. Or you can send something to the customer that says, there is an issue with your artwork. Please contact our office immediately to fix this, whatever. And kind of going back to my business, like I talked about, if I'm to, and I'll show you guys how many different statuses I have in my business for feedback, but I have quite a few, because there are a couple problems that we see in artwork that can be categorized very, very quickly. And so for us, we have order on hold because we're missing a font, or not approved by licensing, or we're missing ink colors, or we're missing some info for names or numbers, or that there's product not in stock, or that they don't have a print location. And every single day, my artist can quickly categorize the issues with the job, and it will quickly contact the customer instead of having to go ahead and message them. So like I said, we're going back to our loop here, and now we have another perfect loop. We've created a really good, clean order intake system. We've created something really simple for purchasing, and we could create that feedback for an order issue if we wanted. We could create something that says product not in stock. It'll contact the customer right away. And we've created a closed loop for our art department, right? And so you can kind of get crazy with this, and you can create statuses, and you can do it for your pre-press, for your production team, even your post-production team, to categorize jobs by delivery, pickup, or shipping. We even take it a step further, and we say that we actually have statuses that will send the customer a thank you email. It'll send them when we select a status, it'll ask for a Yelp review. And even a year, like what we'll do is if we know that there's jobs coming a month out, we'll create a status that asks them if they'd like to reorder earlier, right? And so by using all these triggers and loops, you're simplifying your shop, you're automating it, and you're giving your staff freedom to actually work on what they're supposed to be doing, rather than just communicating with the customer, going back and forth. The beauty of this is that if you go to a real shop, and I'm going to show you guys my shop right now, and if I go into my weekly view, I can see right now how my shop is running, and I know exactly what needs to be done, and every single employee can see the different statuses that are going on. And so if I go to next week, I can start to see what needs to be ordered. I can start to see already where the film's delivered. I can see where my artist needs to send proofs. And I can even see jobs that are, if I've contracted a job out, I'll say that the job has been contracted out. And so we keep a really clean kind of status of our business. And every week it's very organized. And so our company knows exactly how to operate. This transparency is everywhere on our shop. Now, what you can do on Printavo is you can actually give different users special permissions to either view pricing, or they can only view their customers, or maybe they can't view messages, but you can limit what your staff can see. And by using the filter tool, you can turn off different colors so that they can only see those jobs. So if I was to go back into my business and I only wanted, I had the computer screen that was only for my production team, I could go ahead and I could select none of them and only say the jobs that have film delivered to the shop. And so my staff knows these are the jobs that they need to work on, right? And so obviously, as the owner of my business, I have every color on there. One other great feature is you can use hashtags. And with hashtags, you can apply a tag. So if I go into view, I go into edit, I can say I want to call this press 1. And I want to call this screen printing, because maybe we have embroidery. And if I go here and I save it, and I go into my calendar, and I just want to filter what has press 1, I can see only what's on press 1, right? And so by using what you see on Twitter every single day and Instagram, we're doing the same thing at Printavo using tags, filters, and limited views, right? One other amazing tool that you should see is how you can create a preset task list. So there's going to be tasks associated with the jobs, and these might not be tasks that require a status. They just require, they're a specific kind of a list of items that need to be done. So we can create a group of tasks, and we're going to call this, let's say, pre-press. And we'll create this group, and we'll add different tasks. So check in shirts and layout. That's a task. We can assign it to a specific person. One other task could be mix and prep ink. Another one could be wash out screens and tape. And we can assign these to different users. You have unlimited users with Printavo as long as you're on the premium. And I believe the second tier, you can have as many users as you want. If I'm not mistaken, I will just double check that just to be sure. But yeah, with the standard tier, you have unlimited users. So you can have every single employee on a tablet, every single employee to have specific tasks. So wash out the screen and tape. You could have one that says register screens. You could have one that says press check, right? And you can create different groups. So maybe, pre-press has its own set of tasks, and maybe another group of tasks is post-production, where we are going to, we are going to box and fold shirts. We are going to print out packing slip or a box label. We are going to contact customer via phone call, or you could change the status if you wanted to. And we are going to send to shipping department, or bring to shipping department. Okay. Now here's where the magic happens. With preset tasks, you can actually automate them as well to assign themselves to an order when it hits that status. So if I go into automation again, I can say when a job, when an order goes through sizes are approved. Please apply the pre-press task list, right? And so if I'm going back to that invoice and I said, okay, size is approved, let's go ahead and save that. Should be able to go into my tasks, and I'm going to see those specific tasks assigned to specific people. And if you're logged in, you can see what tasks need to be done for that day, right? And so what we're doing is we're taking away the questions, I guess, that might be hovering around the shop. Hey, did you mix ink for this job? Or hey, have these shirts come in yet? Or hey, have you guys ordered this yet? Or hey, what's going on with that customer? Instead, you go right into Printavo, you take a look on your screen, and you have a track of everything that's going on with that job. And if you go to that invoice, because it is a live invoice, there's going to be a track record at the bottom of it with timestamps, and you're going to be able to see users and what messages were sent out to the customer. And so why this is great is it's almost like a workflow and a history so that you can see from a global perspective how a job is going through your workflow, right? And how your job, how quickly and how efficiently you can start to see times, you can start to see timestamps, right? And so if in my shop, you know, we want to see, let's see, if you guys want to see how quickly a job goes through, let me just find my order right here. I can go to this order and I can click on it, and I know that this job was put in on May 15th. I know it was processed at, you know, I put it in at 2:33 p.m. By 2:34 p.m., my office manager went ahead and printed it out. It was a reorder, so he set the status as reorder. He changed the status to need to order. Tom, that same day at 3:10 p.m., sorry, the next day, because he ordered the next day, it might have been after cutoff, he went ahead and he sent it to the art department. The art department said, we already have this film. And they were able to get the job ready, and it was produced in under 7 days. We sent out a message that said it was available for pickup or shipping. We sent out a text message, and then it was picked up by the customer, synced to our QuickBooks, and what I can do right here is send a payment request that is just a simple invoice where the customer can now go ahead and he can pay for it online right there, right? And so what you guys are seeing right here is automation working for your business and with your business. And there's no reason why, big or small, you shouldn't set up a workflow to run a really, really clean and solid business. Obviously, I would encourage you guys to create the workflow all the way through your business. If you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Bruce or any of the guys at Printavo. We would love to chat more about this. If you have any best practices or things that you do in your business that are working really, really, really well, let us know. Take a video, share it with us, because as this community is growing, we definitely love sharing our best practices. That's all I have for today, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. And good luck getting your shop automated and ready to run.